Hello, everyone. I am John DeJulius, and I'm so excited to bring to you my first Google Hangout for the Secret Service Summit, 2013 Secret Service Summit, with one of my mentors, one of the people that got me really excited about getting into the speaking industry, one of our headliners for the Secret Service Summit, Miss Holly Steele. Welcome, Holly.
Thank you, John. Really glad to be here. Thank you. It's my first time ever using Google Hangouts, so I love learning new things. So thank
Isn't
you.
it cool?
Absolutely cool. Yeah.
Well, good. And so, Holly, I want to get everyone up to speed on a lot of them know who you are, and some may not. So I have known Holly, gosh, for at least 15 years, and it's gone so fast. And I remember I was sitting in Holly's audiences 15 years ago and just mesmerized by her story, her background. She's an author of several books, many of which I've read and shared with my staff. I've brought my staff to see Holly on several times, and just has an amazing perception and angle with what customer service looks like, especially from her concierge and high-end hotel background. And she's just done such an incredible job of leveraging that into all industries. You don't have to be in the hospitality industry to truly benefit from Holly. So for my instance, my first business, John Robert Spa, more so in the hospitality business, we really were able to grasp onto a lot of things that Holly shared with us. But like the DeJulius Group, business to business, we do the same things that Holly shares. So you could be manufacturing, you could be retail, you could be government, and what you share, Holly, is just great for everyone. So first, how many books have you written, Holly?
6. Yeah.
6. That's great, and they've done so well. The Neon Signs of Service, May I Help You? Those are just a couple that I've truly found and made it mandatory reading for all my staff. So Holly, tell the group a little bit about your background and how you became such an expert in customer service.
Okay, well, thanks. Well, John, I was a school teacher. I taught school, and then I moved to San Francisco. I had a master's in education, and I thought, oh, perfect, I'll just keep teaching school. And I couldn't get a job. I could not get a job. There were no jobs in the late 70s for people in special education in San Francisco. So I thought, well, okay, what do you do when you can't get a job in what you went to college for? So what do, right? If you live in a place like San Francisco, I can tell you absolutely, you work in a hotel. So I went and got a job in a hotel. I had absolutely no clue, no idea that this was going to be my life's passion and my career. I got a job in a hotel because I needed a job. And I fell madly in love with it from the very, very beginning. And it was when there were no concierge in the United States at that point. And I got this job selling tour tickets in the back of the lobby at the Hyatt on Union Square. And I realized that
San Francisco, right?
Yes, in San Francisco, and I could use all of my skills as a teacher, my skills in life, really. And what really happened was all of my liabilities became my assets, and that was the most fun for me in the whole world, because when I was little, once I overheard my parents actually talking about me when they didn't know that I could hear them, and they said, she never shuts up. She talks all day, and she's so bossy. And I got this job where you could talk all day long and then tell everybody else what to do. And they came back and they said, well, thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you. And I realized, wow, I love this. Everybody comes back and says thank you to me. And I realized that I was really in the thank you business, and that changed my whole life, and that's the name of my business, is Thank You Very Much Incorporated. And my cards say, what business are you in? And then they say, if you're not in the thank you business, you're probably not in business. And so I've really dedicated all of these years and all of my passion to helping people understand that it's the thank you business that we're in, and that's why it doesn't matter if it's manufacturing or B2B or sales or retail or hospitality or anything, because if we're in service, we're in the thank you business, and that's what I love, and that's what's kept me interested all these years. So.
And Holly, where people will be really shocked because you look like you're about 28, is
Right.
you did this a long time ago, and I believe you were one of, if not the first females to be a concierge in the large hotel industry. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you actually do. So I was the first female concierge in the United States. I've really milked it to death, but the thing is that I was in the right place at the right time, because where the Concierge Association really started in America was in San Francisco with a gentleman from the Fairmont in San Francisco. And so there I was in the lobby of, it was called the Hyatt on Union Square at that time, and now it's called the Grand Hyatt San Francisco. It became Grand. But when I started, it was the Hyatt on Union Square. And they never invited me to any meetings. They were starting these little meetings and stuff because they didn't want to upset the European concierge, because there were no females at all. So I called them and I'm like, you have to invite me. I do the same job you do. You have to. And I was like, guys, it's 1976. What's wrong with you? You have to invite me. And so I said, you just come watch me work. And if I do anything that you don't do, okay, I'll leave you alone. But if I do the same job that you do, then you have to include me. And so that's how I became the first female concierge in America. And so then
that leveraged you by obviously being so successful in taking that to where you're able to help countries all over the world, literally for the past 20, 30 years, I believe.
Yeah, well, I left my day job in 92, so it's just about 20, well, it's been a little bit over 20 years. And I guess what really happened was that I fell in love with the concierge. So it started with all of my things that I considered liabilities became assets, but what I realized is that the concierge itself was a tremendous art form, and that if it was done well, that you could do service as art. And I totally appreciated that concept, and also the idea of being a professional. And I realized early on, because really in my soul I am a teacher, and I realized that I could teach it. And it took me from 1976 until 1992, when I did leave my day job, to finally get a book deal where I wrote the first book on the concierge. By the time I wrote the first book, everybody thought that I'd written two because I talked about it for so long. But I realized early on, like really, I think, John, within weeks, that I could teach this. I could teach this because it was so amazing if you looked at service from a professional point of view and from an artistic point of view, that you could change the way that you not only served other people, but that you served yourself as well, and that everything could change. And that became a deep passion of mine, and still is. So that's what I did. I really, and then I realized also when I left in 92, I thought, well, I would just be a concierge consultant. Well, you can imagine how many companies were just interested in hiring concierge consultants. So I then understood deeply that you could translate these skills of a world-class service provider into any business. And that's really how I created my business.
Right, and you did it. And like I said, we learned so much. And the challenge with it is it almost sounds so simple. Come on, saying thank you. Chip Conley, who I know you know, and he runs those great hotels out in Northern California. He has a quote that kind of reminds me of what you share. You know, the smile index, he calls it. He says he goes into any of his property, or any property for that matter, and within seconds he can tell the culture by the quantity and quality of the smiles, or if they're forced. And like just even talking to you right now and seeing you reminds me of that energy that you've always given off on stage. Of just, I mean, you light up a room and you teach people how to light up a room, and it's hard to be upset with someone who is giving you that much warmth and is willing to do whatever it takes to make it right, or to take care of you in any capacity.
Well, I think it's really about the fact that service is energy, and that one of the things that people don't understand, and the reason that, look at John, we've been talking about this whole service idea for like at least 40 years. In North America, we've really been talking about this about that time, maybe a little bit less, but right around there. And service has improved. I would say it actually has improved, and yet we're still talking about it and still have a lot of challenges around it because you can't wrap your arms around it. I always tell people, if you go into a shoe store and you pay money in a shoe store, what do you walk out with? Shoes, right? Yeah, you walk out with something. But when you come for an experience, you can't put it in a bag. You can't say, oh, I went to this spa and I had the most amazing service. Do you want to see it? Because here it is. I put it in this bag and I could show it to you and I could share it with you. But you can't do that. You can't really wrap it up. It's a feeling. And it's a feeling that people have when they come into your business. So if Chip calls that a smile index, and whether those smiles are forced, or that's one aspect of it. It's that, how do I feel when I walk into your business or when I call you on the phone? Do I feel like you want to help me? Because it really boils down to that, is how do you make me feel? And it's an energetic resonance that actually happens. And restaurants actually will talk about that in a way that is physical, because and a spa too, because they'll talk about the vibe. But a lot of other businesses don't understand that they have a vibe too. And when you can concentrate on the vibe, then that will determine how somebody feels, and how somebody feels determines how quickly they'll go to their wallet. And so that's why service absolutely needs to have a continued conversation, because it's relentless. Because it's not something that you can say, okay, check that off a list, and now I'm done with it. Because then, right. Yeah, that isn't what it is. It's so much bigger than that. And so that's the part that I find interesting. Because, I mean, okay, yes, you need to know that you answer the telephone on 3 rings. Why do you do that? Well, because people get annoyed after 3. I mean, so those are things that you can know. But even if you do all the right things, you can still do it wrong. Because it doesn't make you feel good. You can say, certainly that's my pleasure, certainly that would be my pleasure, and you think like you want to say to these people, well, would you kill my mother-in-law? And they would say, certainly, that would be my pleasure.
Right.
They're not listening to you, and they don't really care about you, and they're not connecting with you. They're just saying what they were told to say. And that's why it doesn't work, and that's why you need to talk about it from this deeper place.
All right, so Holly, so the Secret Service Summit is November 4th and 5th in Cleveland this year. It's our 5th one, and with the mistake we made is we only will be able to fit 500 people, which we're almost halfway there. We're so far ahead. People come from all over the world, New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, all over the U.S., and you got people already, I'm looking at the registration list, from Nestle Corporation, Chick-fil-A has signed up, and you have mom and pops that come that own little smaller businesses, and everyone in between. A lot of CXOs and chief customer officers attend, and management teams come. And as you know, we've got this amazing lineup. You're good friends of yours, Joe Calloway, Stan Slapp. So, you know, and people like Shep Hyken and Vern Harnish have spoken in the past. So what is it that we can tell them that they're when they bring their management team, and Holly does her keynote, what is it that they could take away, and what are some things that the ahas that is going to allow them to go back almost immediately and put into their business model?
Well, great. Well, I'll tell you what my clients tell me, John. So what people tell me about my work is that it's hammer on the nail in terms of telling the truth about what really happens from both points of view, not just from the customer point of view, but from the service provider point of view. And I believe that that comes because I was a hotel concierge and worked on the other side of that desk, that we need to understand that we want to have all this great service, but where does it really occur? It occurs from inside out, and not just outside in. So we have to have all of the outside things, but we need to really understand how do we get the best out of our people so that they're willing to do it day after day after day after day. And I believe that I help people to create a language and an ability to speak about very difficult things to speak about, because service is a vibe and energetic. It's also an emotional experience. And so I really am interested in the emotions of service. And so I help managers to be able to speak to their employees about these difficult emotional concepts in a way that is simple. So I have distilled it into very simple things, which is what I call the neon signs of service, which is some of the work that you were inspired by early on. It's that, like, I've taken the idea that everybody only really cares about themselves. Well, that's an emotional concept, actually. So what happens is when the service providers are thinking only of themselves and not of the agenda of the customer, and the customer is only thinking about themselves and not the agenda of the business, then real service and satisfaction and profit is difficult to occur. But when we understand, the way that I've distilled it, I say that everybody wears a giant sign on them that says me. And it says me. And what does it say? It says, help me now. But what we all understand that, but what I help people to really get is what's underneath that me sign. So that, first of all, the employee needs to take the me and turn it upside down and make it into a we. That's the first thing, because the customers are never taking it off. And then once we look at that me sign, we have to look at the human needs that are underneath the business needs. And when you focus on the human needs, then the business needs are so much easier to take care of. So when you recognize the human need, then you can make a decision as to how does your behavior, the provider, need to shift based on what is the human need that is going on in front of you in that moment. Because it's extremely difficult to say, well, I know what that person's personality is, even when you are dealing with them for a moment. The only thing you can really know and really observe is what that person's behavior is in that moment. And their behavior in that moment has a human need that's attached to it. And when you can then look at it and go, okay, what is the human need? Where do I really want to respond? Where do I really need to respond to that? Because most of us know how to do our job. Whatever they're asking us for, we know how to do that. But where it's interesting and amusing and actually where we get something out of it is when we can focus on that human need and then change our behavior based on their behavior and move forward from that place. And then the feeling will shift and they'll want to do business with you. So that's the place that I like to focus on.
And I love it, because what I always get from listening to you is meeting the customer where they're at, trying to put myself in their shoes, their perspective, their pain points, and it always makes me have more empathy and compassion for them instead of looking at them as next, right? The chicken sandwich and Diet Coke, or the 5:30 haircut, or room number 213. Right, and then we could all get very stale and numb to the next customer that we're serving versus, hey, this person has concerns. She might have things going on at home, and there is a part that we can play in this to alleviate some of that for her, both by the service and product we sell, but just by being that human being and giving that smile and the thank you very much and the sincerity behind it. And so that's what I've always enjoyed, walking away and hearing from you and getting my managers to understand that too, so they go back and they model that.
Well, you just said something really huge, because if your managers don't model it, then none of it works. Because right. It just doesn't work. It's like you can say anything you want, but if you don't model it, and if you don't treat your employee like a valued customer, then none of it works. If you're going to be yelling and screaming in the back of the house and you're supposed to go in the front of the house and go, oh, hello, how are you? May I help you? Great. Forget it. It's just never, ever going to work. But I think that there's another layer to it, John. It isn't just like, okay, there's empathy and we need to think about the other person and what they're going through. But where it becomes more interesting is, all right, so I'm empathetic and I really do care and I want this person, my intention is that they have a good experience in our business. But then there's another layer of, well, okay, well, how do I do that? What do I do? So I'll just give you an example. So let's say someone's in a bit of a panic. You don't have their appointment, or their packages didn't arrive, or what they were expecting wasn't going to happen and they thought it would, so they're panicked. So when you're skilled at understanding the human need, you would never say to a panicked person, "Oh, well, tell me more about that. Could you explain that to me?" You would say to a panicked person, "Well, tell me what time it was supposed to arrive. Give me the number of this." You would ask them closed questions so that they could just answer closed questions. Because if they're panicked, you're not going to get what you need to take care of them. So if you have someone, let's say, who's irate or who's really angry or who's in a place of wanting to just feel important, you don't want to ask them closed questions. You want to ask them open questions because they want to feel important and they want to tell you everything. And so when you sort of have some skills in your pocket to understand how to then finesse these different emotions, then your job becomes interesting as opposed to transactional. And so, yes, first you have to care. It's pretty hard to teach someone to care. That's cultural, if your business cares. And you hire people who had pretty good parenting. And then, but beyond that, there's some skills that you can apply to make it much more artistic. And so it isn't just be nice, be kind, although that'd be great. No, none of us would, work anyway. So, and I always say, yeah, you're right, John. It's simple. It isn't easy.
No,
it isn't.
It's not.
No.
So, Holly, this is awesome. I'm so excited. This is going to be released to our 30,000 plus subscribers of our e-service actually next week. And what they always love to do is they always like to get books and materials on the speakers prior to the Secret Service Summit, and so they're well versed. We have a great attendee list, and they're so educated. Where can they go to find out more about Holly? And if of your 6 books, what is the one that you think would best prepare them for the presentation that you're going to do this November at the Secret Service Summit?
Okay, great, thank you. Well, the Neon Signs of Service really is my seminal work in terms of what I believe is so hammer on the nail about understanding service from the inside out and really getting a return on what really matters for your customer and what matters for your employees. So I would say the Neon Signs of Service.
And I would agree that I feel that book was groundbreaking when you wrote it, and it is still just as relevant today.
Thank you so much. I really have had so much success with that. I mean, in terms of my business, but in terms of people really remembering this. It's so simple. And so that's really great. And the Neon Signs of Service. And then really soon I'm going to have a book for consumers, which I've never done before. And it's how to get the best out of your hotel concierge, A to Z. Because I believe that all service is a relationship. Mm-hmm. And so the relationship, now of course we don't teach customers how to behave, but in this how to get the best out of your concierge, it really helps people. So if your attendees travel, they'll really appreciate this little booklet that I'm just coming out with.
When's that going to be ready and published?
August.
Oh, good. So in time for the summit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
So,
and should they go to the thankyouverymuch.com?
Thank you very much, Inc.com, but yes.
Yeah, and you should be able to see it on the screen here. Say it one more time, Holly.
It is called How to Get the Best Out of Your... I'm sorry, my website?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thankyouverymuch.Inc.com. Yeah.
I am so excited, Holly. This is just a thrill for me to have someone who I just idolized when I first just got in the business, my first business, the salons and spas, and I was so fortunate to attend a seminar that you were speaking at, and then I made sure whenever I saw you on any platform, I didn't miss it, and I brought more and more people every time, and I was like everyone else. The first time I saw you, I said, oh my God, I wish I would have brought more people, and then I was fortunate to been able to see you several more times, and you've just always been not only a great speaker, but just a world-class person, and you didn't know me from Adam, and you're always so polite and so gracious, and you'd share with me anything I'd ask of you, and then fortunately, as our time come on, we became professional and doing similar things, and this is a real personal hidden agenda treat for me to be able to expose you to all my clients, and so because they're just going to love you and they're going to eat you up.
Well, I so appreciate it, and as you know, I'm from Cleveland. I'm like,
Yes.
oh, a trip to Cleveland. All right. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, John, a lot, and I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you.
Yes. So everyone, it's Holly Steele. Thank you very much, Inc.com. Thank you very much, Inc.com. This will be on our website, and this will be in the e-service coming out next week. And you can go to secretservice.com and see Holly's full bio, as well as register to see her be one of our headliners at this year's Secret Service Summit. So, Holly, again, thank you so much for taking the time today to get us whet our appetite about what we're going to hear in November.
My pleasure. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Okay. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.
You too.